Now this is Shocky the crossover showcase. Definitely. With Lady Kendra. Large up yourself anytime. Mr. Lover said that. Big up!
We are honoring the legends that are in the building today. It's all about hip hop, 50 years of hip hop. I want to do this. I want to say thank you for joining us for part two. And we are about to introduce all of our guests. The clips that you saw, I want to do this. I want to thank Tony Wesely. I love you.
Thank you.
Everybody knows him as Mr. Wave. But I want to do this in part two. I want to say your work with Real Song Productions, You Cannot Erase Me, is phenomenal.
Thank you.
Can I just tell you that?
Thank you so much.
And I'm going to give you a salute. All right? All right. I want to do this. You are sitting next to, on your right, CR Capers. Hi, CR.
Hello, hello, hello.
All right, I'm going to do this, my sister right here. And I want to say thank you so much for coming out here. Film House, Film Festival.
Yes.
You guys know who this is, who this be. I want to do this. Yeah. Shocky Shay's in the building. She had a record out, and she had to diss somebody. And she was not happy about it. But, you know, that was work in the past. And so I want to just shout out Shocky Shay. She's in the building. And the name of the record was?
Pass the salt and pepper, please.
And pass the salt and pepper, please. And, so I might get her to do a little clip, but she had a beautiful album out. And then I want to do this. You know, I just been sitting down with MC Sparky D today. We've been talking, we've been communicating as sisters, coming from domestic violence myself.
Right.
Article in the New York Times. Just sitting down with Sparky talking about her domestic violence and, you know, where she's come from. But you are a dope lyricist. So I just want to shout you out.
Thank you.
MC Sparky D is back in the building. This is part two. You Can't Erase Me. Can we all just say, You Can't Erase Me?
You can't erase me.
Nor can you erase crossover TV.
Hey, you can't erase crossover TV.
That's right.
So I want to do this. I want to say it's a pleasure. Thank you guys for coming back. We're live all over the world. www.bronxnet.org. And you can click on channel 68 during this broadcast. Also, while you're doing this, checking out this broadcast, it's going to air all over the world over and over and over, okay? So we're going to do this show. We're going to give out the air dates. And we might even put something at the top of the hour. So once again, as soon as you watch this show, you'll be able to see this show over and over and over. So there'll be a part one and part two. So if you are real hip hop, this is 50 years in hip hop. And we have the blessing of having Tony Wave on this program. Tony Wave. All right, do it, Tony. Go ahead, Tony. One more time. See, he's playing with me now. Now you're going to tease me, play with me.
I'm going to tease you and play with you.
One more time. You can't do that.
No.
See, I even make you stand up. I asked you to stand up. All right. Are you going to rap again? He was rapping on part one. If you missed part one, you missed something. So he's rapping on part one. But this has just been a blessing. So we're going from part one to part two. What did you think of, you guys, I know you're going to like email me or talk to me after this. And I want to know what you thought about it. You Can't Erase Me. And that's just like a little tease. And so I want to go to CR Capers first before you this time, Tony, because I want CR Capers, first of all, tell the folks exactly who you are, what you do, and tell me about the impact of this, You Can't Erase Me, and how you got involved with this and what it means to you.
Certainly. Well, C.R. Capers, founder and executive director of the Harlem Film House. And the Harlem Film House is a nonprofit organization, and we're dedicated to creating opportunities, helping artists meld their creative with their business mind, helping them understand contracts, distribution, and all of that, as well as giving platform to their stories. And we have 365 days worth of programming. Our biggest program, however, is the Hip Hop Film Festival. Wow. I was raised and born in the culture, and one of the things that we like to let people know is that hip hop is not about rappers as the world thinks. It is a true culture comprised of many people, of many talents, and that's what we represent. So the Hip Hop Film Festival focuses in on the stories, the directors, the producers, and anyone who helps get the image of our culture out into the world and helping them with the resources to continue to make those stories happen. So we are in our 8th year.
Wow.
Quite an accomplishment.
Yes.
Because we don't have sponsors. We're very independent. We're just like Tony here. We do everything We get it from the mud, as it were. But 8 years, God bless, 8 years of making sure that we support our stories and telling the world the true story of who we are as a culture. Hip hop is a African American construct, but it's to be shared with everyone. It's our voice, right? So to that end, I met Tony, and when our second year of the festival, he submitted a Wave, a true story in hip hop, a documentary, and we were floored. I was floored, and I was like, oh my God, and he became alumni. We've been connected ever since. And I was doing a tour this past year, well, 2022, we just got back in the Netherlands because we take the Hip Hop Film Festival around the world. There's not a continent we do not hit. And we work with governments and different groups to do this, to make sure that our stories are told and to make sure that the architects are respected. So this year I had the opportunity, I said, hey, you know, they're looking for docs. They want Wave. Let's get you paid on that. Because of course that's part
I like
of the
she said, let's get
opportunity.
you paid.
Let's get you
Let's
paid
go,
on
girl.
that, and then let's put you on the stage. And he said, yeah, that would be dope. But you know what? I got this new project coming up. And I'm like, yo, you're alumni. Whatever you need, you got.
Wow.
And he said, it's called You Can't Erase Me. And the minute he said that, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I was like, tell me more. And he told me about this docuseries, and I said, Tony, this is a movement. This is the Me Too movement for hip hop, because we are being erased. As I travel around the world, I see other races and places all trying to claim what it is that we have created. And it can't happen again, not on our watch. They did it with jazz. It's been done with rock and roll. Anything you see out here in the world, it's always taken from us, and we lose our ownership, and therefore our creative control and our equity, our wealth building. So when he said that, I said, yeah, if this can happen for white women across America, why not us? Why not for the Sparky Ds and the Tonys and the Special Ks and the Cool Mo Ds and all the people that made me who I am today? So there's so many stories, but it's important to start with the true architects, the true people who went through these stories, these triumphs, the pain, the joy, the suffering, all of that. And then also to put a name and a face to what they experienced, how they were disenfranchised, and how we could help them triumph again. Sparky's story, it's amazing. Special K, amazing. So the Hip Hop Film Festival stands behind them, and we're going to do everything within our power, within our network, to make sure they are not only featured, but they get everything that it should be theirs and should have been negotiated for them in the beginning. And it may be a long road, a hard road, but we're here to let everyone know you cannot erase them.
I love it. When you, if we look at Special K's story, when we look at the docu for Special K, what do you think about? Because I think about that part with Rick Rubin, and he says, I left them in a room together. And something like that it could be your whole life. He said, shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Everybody remembers this all over the world. For the people that seen some of the features on this,
Yes.
for his,
Yes.
and it said, shouldn't have. What do you think about that? Because that changed everything in his life, right?
It's the story of the Black American in America, right? Our entire history is shouldn't have been on them boats, shouldn't have got kidnapped, shouldn't be constantly and consistently robbed of what we create by our own sometimes. So it's important, especially in Kay's story, especially in Sparky's story, that we make that the battle cry, you cannot erase me. Because then that means if you don't erase me, then that means restitution, retribution, reparations for all the ills that were done. These people built this culture on their backs. Their music was the clarion cry of what was oppressing us in the ghettos and all of this. So to have that stolen constantly is something that everybody can relate to, because we've all been stolen from.
Deep, deep.
She said it, like, it
Jesus.
totally said it. I want to do this. I want to expound on that, Tony.
Well, the fact that technology is also plays a part in erasing us. It's the end thing. I've seen great groups, and DOC says it best in Yella's documentary. There was no reason for NWA to ever have been broken up. But they break us up. They broke up the elements of hip hop by design, careful design. Because you give one person all the money, you stop the movement. So my walk along with Ms. Capers and all the subjects that I touch who are my friends is to set a new standard. If you are gifted and you have a story to tell, you should tell that story. So the Hip Hop Film Festival, the Hip Hop Museum, the Real Song Production, this is all on the backs of colored men and women. And we need to figure out a way to sustain that because they are coming. I can give you a case in point. I showed some of this to World Star, and World Star loves it. They loves it, and they wanted me to keep creative control. Great conversations, great meetings, all the way down to the last moment. But I saw the contract as being CEO heavy, that I would profit and not the people who have been through this with me. And so I pulled back on that deal, along with 3 or 4 other deals. Our product is great because it's the truth. What we have done is we have elevated the conversation in our culture, because people are under misconception that we don't know each other. Because everything that is strategized or put on television has to deal with one person or one group, and that story is a partial story. Real Song Productions will tell an elevated story that connects us all because we all knew each other.
Right.
So when say this is widespread and it was in this part of the Bronx and that part of the Bronx, this is true. But I traveled to Brooklyn to see Sparky. I ate at Special K's house. You kind of see where I'm going.
Yeah.
We hung out. We all knew each other, and those stories aren't told. They're never told. You know, the elements of hip hop has been desecrated and separated. So this puts the culture in its proper perspective to feed the globe, because they just want to know the truth. They just want to know what we've done and how we have survived it. And that's why you have the naysayers or the individuals around the world coming to a platform, because they have a record deal and discounting the Michael Jordans of this.
Good one. Good.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because they don't know the history. So we keep saying, know your history. You better know your history. But the reality is, Mr. Wave have, in some sense of the word, failed hip hop. And so did the first and second generation. And we don't want to admit to that. Because how many proteges do we all have? Who can dance like Mr. Wave? I've not taught anyone, shown anyone. I was given a second opportunity for film. And I will not betray the people that have trusted me on this platform.
Amen.
Wow.
I
Thank
love
you.
it.
Awesome.
And I just want to do this. I was talking to Ness earlier on part 1. I was talking to Ness, and Ness was like, "This is the guy. This guy right here." So when you say you haven't taught anybody to do this, but you've been teaching other things.
It's important.
So I think that's it's valuable. You can't even pay for it.
Well, I'll tell you why. I was an angry child. I was an angry kid. My mom went through abuse, and I was 4. I couldn't do anything, and so my anger started there. When I was in school, I was told I had a chemical imbalance. That was the word they used for us back then.
Wow.
And so they wanted me to take Ritalin, not knowing that I was gifted.
Wow.
Period.
Wow.
I probably could have cured cancer. Any one of us probably could have been a part of that, but we were told that we were less. And I never forget that day. It was 7th grade, just before I went into a group home on purpose. But they asked my mom, could I take Ritalin? And she cried in that principal's office and said no.
Wow.
Thus you have what you have today. So I just think it's important that we realize that we are kings and queens.
Yes.
Most
You know,
definitely.
emperors and empresses. You know, I just think that we've went through a time. And this is the time, this is the movement, but we have to band together. And so when I say it's been hard, and they know it's been hard, when you have to finance something yourself, and you have to also get it right.
Yeah, you can't make
See,
no
Hollywood
mistakes.
doesn't have to
You're
get it right.
responsible.
We have
Right.
to get it right the first
Most
time.
definitely.
So it's a lot of pressures here, but it's good pressure. It's good pressure. So when I say that I didn't have, there's no college degree here, there's no film school, there's no mentor here. I'm a self-made man.
Self-taught. You're self-taught.
Yeah.
And a lot of us are self-taught.
Yeah.
I mean, I could go through my history and my background. We're self-taught, and that's what makes us and shapes us.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
And by the grace of God, He turned us around a few times, and now we're ready for the world.
Yes.
And we have to fall down a few times, Sparky.
Yes.
Talk to me. We got to fall down a few times. We got to get back up. But you know, and the idea that what he was saying, the schools are the ones that tell the parents, you got to put your kids on medication.
Yeah,
They
that's
don't have
true.
the right to tell us that. We all know Tony. Can you imagine Tony on Ritalin?
Oh, no.
Tony Wave on
Never.
Ritalin? Mr. Wave? Oh, Lord.
Give me some.
That definitely happened.
That's a mistake. So first of all, like, shouldn't have. Like what the
Right.
case said,
Shouldn't
shouldn't
have.
have.
Shouldn't have.
Shouldn't. Don't
Damn
do
you,
that.
Whitland. Right.
So this is really good because I think this is like should be called a conversation. It's a conversation because Tony just gave a great example of just it being in the business, having the responsibility. I'm taking this out. Having the responsibility of what he has to be responsible for in every person that he's working with, and I think the honesty, that's the most important. I saw a person post on Instagram, I'm gonna say this, honest man. I'm like, really? No way. And I just kept moving.
Right.
Because we don't even believe it anymore. We don't believe there's honesty left.
Yeah.
But there is honesty, you know. So we gotta
Definitely.
know when we see it if it's honest. You're good to say it. Is it honest?
100%. I mean, he has taught me how to live in the gray. So when he says film producer, director, I'll add to that therapist, psychiatrist, true friend, teacher, vocabulary. You know, he calls me and say, okay, Sparky, you're going to be speaking around the world. Let me give you these 10 words, and I want you to define them and look them up and begin to put them in your vocabulary. My children look up to Tony, Uncle Tony, you know, and he has a way of, to love him is to know him.
Yeah, you gotta love him to know
you
to
have,
love
yeah,
him.
yeah,
You gotta
yeah,
love
yeah.
him.
Yeah, because we walk around and we
Give me
talk
five.
about
Come on,
him. We
Tony,
talk
give me
about
five.
him in our house. I'm not calling because they coming to film. But guess what? We all listen to him because he loves us. He cares for us. And like again, he was talking about the deals. He turned a couple down. We could have been out, but it wasn't in special K's benefit. It wasn't in Alien Ness benefit or Sparky D or Khalid. So we trust him.
I love it.
I'll leave you with that. We trust him.
I love it.
You're
So
welcome.
I'm looking forward because I was talking to CR Capers, and I'm looking forward to what she has planned. And it's like she's
Amazing.
not coming. She's not going to fall back. She's not going to come off this, and she's very determined.
Yes.
And she's going to see this through. So how do you feel about that?
Amazing. You know, when she was speaking, I looked at Tony, and I know he probably knew what I was thinking. I said, about time. Thank you, Lord. Answered prayer. You know, so I want to thank you personally for believing in me and believing in my story. But most of all, taking on You Can't Erase Me and believing in Tony and opening the door for his docuseries, because then we wouldn't be sitting here. So again, I commend you for what you do and taking this all around the world. And believe me, they will hear about domestic violence, you know, drugs and special case story and all our stories. So we thank you for that.
It's my honor. I got to thank you. There's a reason why they can't erase you. They can't duplicate you. They can't replicate you. You put in the work. This is your story.
Yes.
People like me, I'm but an intermediary to help get that message out. But I have to thank you because that's the power of media, right? You think about the civil rights movement. The nation activated when they saw the hoses being turned on children, dogs. The nation will activate when they hear your story from your mouth about what you went through
That's
and
true.
the dues you paid.
Yeah.
Even when you were in a space where you weren't doing good for yourself, you were still doing good for others. I saw that. That made me believe. So thank you. And it gave me something to believe in and say, this is why I do what I do. Because Sparky needs the platform. Wave needs the platform. Kay needs the platform. I've been robbed from, lied to. You know, it's been plenty of times when I'm like, I can't do this no more. 'Cause no one's supporting what we're doing.
Thank you.
But Tony
Powerful.
came
Very
in.
powerful.
He believes in me enough to say, I want to show you something. He trusted me. He showed me you, showed me Kay. It's too powerful to ignore. So I will gladly take up the arms and stomp the pavement, argue with Tony, we fuss, and be like, well, how do we do this? How do we do that? And we will figure it out because it's important. So thank you.
And just talk about the word fuss. For me, it's insurances. Because I never will step out of body. I'm not that guy. I'm not the guy that is successful. Don't tell me congratulations. Have me sign something that ensures that this is not a waste. I'm already, when it gets out there, the talent is the talent. The purity will show the editor or the producer that's done. How do I not allow advantage to be taken of the artists, the subjects? That's the hardest fight in this. Because they're quick to say, hey, we can do this. We can partner 50-50, but how can it be 50-50 and I'm not telling the story? There's other people involved here. It's just easy math to me. So when I ask so many questions, it's not based on me. I'm at that moment out of body in Sparky's body, and Kay's body, and Ness's body, and DJ Yella's body, and Alonzo Williams' body, and Mr. Cheeks' body, you know, and Gil Scott Heron's daughter, who's in Cheeks' documentary's body. When they're telling me these stories, the integrity has already been awarded. So my reward is to get the story without forcing the story. My interviews are basically a half an hour long, period, with everyone, which makes our editing team feel great about putting this story together in its holistic value, not cutting it up to make it sound like something. What you saw, what they're saying, is what it is.
It's uncut.
It's uncut and it's validated by everybody else surrounding them.
I want to do this. That close-up that you have on Tony Wave, leave it right there. Bring it back again, one more time. That close-up that you have on Tony Wave, yes. If you can see that Hip Hop Film Festival, respect the architects. I want to. You want to go with that, CRK? You want to tell me about that?
And it leads back to everything that we were saying in this entire conversation, part 1 and part 2. You have to respect the architects. If you begin to respect the architects, you cannot erase them, and you're going to have to pay them what they are owed. You're going to have to eventually render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's.
Wow.
I love it. Okay, CR Capers, everybody. I want to do this. Shocky Shay is in the building, and we have not even, like, I've been, like, wanting to get to her. Like, we have not even talked about, so tell me about when you started. I knew you had the album out. Tell me a little bit about that, and tell me about that song that you didn't really want to diss, that you didn't want to diss somebody.
Yeah, I really didn't want to do it. I was purely signed for a whole different person, which was really myself. You know, I was signed, you know, with the understanding that I would be able to express myself and to be myself, you know, who I was lyrically. And, you know, when an artist writes, you know, she or he writes from within or with the surroundings. And so that's what inspires a writer.
Right.
Whenever I signed a deal and I felt like, wow, I'm going to be able to express myself. Well, I remember being let down many a times. And I found myself sitting into Quad Studios, and I was ready to record a song, and I was so excited. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to record this song. And I don't know what my mother's going to think about it because, you know, I was on the rough side. But it was coming from within, and I was excited. And my manager walked in, and he said, Shocky Shay. I said, yeah, I'm ready. Let's get in the booth. It's like, you're going to record a song called Pass the Salt and Pepper. And I was stunned. I was like, what? I can't. Yeah, you're going to write a song called Pass the Salt and Pepper. I said, and what's that going to be about? You know, I was just like blown away. Like, I'm ready to record this song. The name of it is Power of the P. You know, like, this is what I'm doing tonight, you know? And he was like, no, you're going to record a song called Pass the Salt and Pepper. Ladies don't talk like that. You can't do that. They're not going to play it on the radio. They're not, I was shattered. Now I'm a writer, which means I can write anything in 5 to 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if it's country, whatever, hip hop. And then it became the ultimate betrayal. You guys were sitting up here talking about loyalty and honesty. You know, to me, that's everything. And
Definitely.
I was lied to from the beginning. You know, the minute you walked into Quad that day, you wanted to change exactly who I was. You know, you wanted me to record this song called Pass the Salt and Pepper. You're going to diss Salt and Pepper. I'm going to diss who?
He said, I love Salt and Pepper.
What do you mean?
I love them.
I love Salt and Pepper. You know, Salt and Pepper, Roxanne Shante, Sparky D.
Yeah.
These are the girls I listen to.
Cornerstones.
Yeah, when I was in school, matter of fact, I tell everybody I flunked math because I was listening to
Salt and Pepper?
Yeah, and Sparky D and Roxanne Shante. Like, I'm in math class. My reality in math class was I'm in algebra, and my teacher walked up to me, Miss Campbell. She's like, guess who won't be graduating? And I'm like, who? You.
Wow.
Because I literally sat in math class and I wrote my album.
Was it the diss for Salt and Pepper?
No, it had nothing to do with that.
Okay. Oh, because I just wanted to know.
No.
Okay.
So I recorded the song. You know, long story short, I recorded the song. I was told that my manager spoke with Herbie, and Salt and Pepper knew about it. And after you record this song, then they're going to record a song. Everybody's happy. They already know about it.
Then they're going to diss you.
Yeah, they're going to dish you. And then
Okay.
everybody's going to get paid.
Oh, my
And I'm
God.
sitting there like, really? I didn't want to do it. I stormed out. I ate Chinese food. You know, I was forced to come back to the studio. I already signed a contract, by the way, that I didn't really read thoroughly,
Wow.
No
Wow.
one did it back then.
you know?
Yeah, back then no one read it, right?
So I signed away everything, my creative control. We were talking about the creative control. I signed away everything, my rights, you name it. Power of attorney, he had it all, you know? So I recorded this song that I never ever could get into because and everybody's playing it. It's like playing everywhere. Like, you gotta go to Texas, you gotta go here, you gotta go there. But let me tell you something. If you're performing something that you're not feeling, you can't perform something.
Right.
You know? And I walked away from a lot of stuff, you know? A lot of things because I wasn't allowed to be myself, you know?
Yeah. So I think creative control is very important. And your rights to your music and your rights to your lyrics and your rights to your things. And that just, wasn't there back then. And
It all comes down to that one word.
Yeah.
If creative control is in the contract, you retain a lot of all of that. Now, if you write percentages away, that's different than creative control. But creative control means you are the creator. You control that narrative that eventually winds up on records or film.
I had none of that.
So what can you, just because you guys are here and you all have been around the world, What can the new people coming into this like?
It doesn't work that way.
No, what?
Well, I'm gonna answer you. I'm sorry. Sometimes I understand
No,
what
no,
you're saying
no.
before you say it. But
No,
go
no,
ahead.
no, that's okay. I remember I was with Ice-T. I was interviewing Ice-T one time because I've interviewed him a couple of times. I interviewed him at the Hip Hop Museum. And I was just saying to him, you could give these kids $1 million out here, because I'm always out here for the kids to do something for them.
Mm-hmm.
You could give them $1 million, but it won't be the same as your words. What words can you give these kids right now on film that are going to push them in the right direction?
First of all, they deserve, like I just said, an apology, because you can't demand respect. You can't demand that you follow me when kids go in the studio and put out 4 records in 14 minutes. So they feel like the evolution has worked in their favor. Podcasts, technology I spoke about earlier, flips. Now a podcast, is academic, for example. He says some real raunchy stuff and stuff that put him in a corner. But then some things he said you have to listen to. He says, I tried to come see all of you. I reached out to all of you, and nobody heard me. And so these kids want us to be honest, to be truthful, real with them. And then
Thanks.
if you're in a classroom, and I teach dance in class, and I tell the kids these 3 things. I said there's a good, a bad, and a medium. And then I tell them which one is a test. Which one do you think will make this through this class? And everyone picks the outrageous funny guy. And it's the baddest kid that always wins. It's the baddest kid because if you can get that person and convince that person that is okay. No different than me telling the principal, I could be in this room in your auditorium with Barack Obama, and for 1 hour, it's all about Barack. But I will save lives with these same kids, because what I give you is tangible.
That's right.
You could be me.
That's right. That's right.
So that's what we give the kids, these rappers. Bow down to them a little bit. If they have heart drive and they went in the studio and produced something incredible, I'm anxious to tell their stories.
Right.
Make sense?
Yeah. Makes sense to me.
said it all in a
Remember this
nutshell.
one? Your word is your bond?
Yeah.
I sure do.
We all
word
know
is your
that one,
bond.
right? We know
Yeah.
that one?
So, in addition to that, you have to empower these kids with the responsibility of their legacy.
Right.
They have to be seen as an active force in what happens in the future. And
Not
you do
ignored.
that exactly, and you do
They
that
don't know
by
it. They don't know their culture.
reaching them and teaching them their
Because nobody's
history,
taught
where
them.
they're at. Meaning, they don't need to learn about George Washington. They don't. They need to learn the history of where they're interested. You know what I'm saying? If they're interested in hip hop culture, they want to be a rapper.
Wow.
They need to learn this.
Yeah,
they need
learn
to
your
hear
history.
the
That's
history
right.
of this.
Yeah.
But they also need to understand that the culture wasn't predicated on one element.
That's right.
Exactly.
And so when you try to, and you're not very good at being an MC, and you keep beating yourself over the head when you're going in the studio,
Yeah.
maybe you should listen to music and become the engineer of the DJ.
Right.
And so that was not taught to them, the elements of hip hop. Knowledge is king, straight out of Bam's mouth.
Well, I
The
don't even
Fifth
want to.
Element.
I don't want to talk about the artist just to talk about the artist. But there's an artist that they didn't want to let really get on because he was better at doing beats and bringing the songs out. Y'all know who I'm probably talking about. There's always in headline media. I don't want to give. I don't want to give it to that because it's not about that.
Right.
But that is the truth. And I think that we have got to get to a place where our children, when it's Black History Month, they don't just think they're gonna make some fried chicken and eat some macaroni and cheese and not sure what their history is.
But it's also a
And we're
disconnect.
not
I'm
teaching
sorry,
them.
not to cut you off. It's a disconnect. And let me talk about Melly Mel. It's a disconnect with MCs, dancers being in touch with reality. Those songs, A Child is Born with No State of Mind, Blind
say
to
it.
the Ways of Mankind.
Say it.
That man was going through something.
That's right.
Okay? So if you listen, stop the violence, self-destruction.
Yes.
We're saying this is help us. We're here. We are trapped. And the rich got richer by taking that exercise, because it's only an exercise to them. My contract that I did not sign with World Star was only a mere exercise to them. For us, it was everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense
So
to
you have
me.
to teach these kids who are getting the money, getting the accolades, but they are stopping the movement. Because you make one, you kill a village. You make Jay-Z a billionaire, you stop the 100 other writers, people he wrote for and produced and had. He's too high. You can be too high and too busy. You know how busy I am? You know how busy she is? So you have, there's a medium there. And so when do you help those individuals? You help them with like an Elliot Ness and a Sparky D that can give you that little bit that you need in an instance. Not dialogue. We do heavy dialogue, and we try to penetrate the mind. I learned that from Special K. You know, I'm a fan of Special K's because I listened to these songs and Fearless 4 and Problems of the World Today. It was empowering because that's what I wanted. But let him have disrespected me at any time in that walk. I would not be here with this capability.
That's
Right,
true.
that's true.
Special K's in the building, by the way. He's still here, everybody. He's still in the building. Let's shout him out. He's in the building. Special K, say something. Shout, Special K. Yo! He's in the building. I just want to let y'all know he's in the building. And part 1 is amazing. So part 1, part 2. I want to do this, Sparky. I want to talk to you for a bit, but I want to go to your documentary, Sparky. You Can't Erase Me, Sparky. You can tell me a little bit when we come back from the break.
Sparky showed no fear. She didn't fear whether you were male or female.
I was definitely impressed about with Sparky D was not only her ability to want to battle female rappers or any female rapper, but just also her ability and strength of wanting to battle anyone that was on stage. So, 9 times out of 10, it was only men on stage.
Her aggressiveness and then the clarity of her voice. You knew right away, if she came at you, you better have something ready because she's gonna show you up.
From 8 to 80, you wanted to battle me, I was there, I was ready.
As soon as you hear her vocal, it says, I am the baddest, and if you have anything to say, you better be coming as hard as me.
Brooklyn. Brownsville, never ran, never will. White mother, black father. Growing up in Brownsville projects, in Van Dyke projects, going to school, getting up in the morning, going to school, and wondering why my house was full with people. I'm like, what is this? But back in those days, way back then, we didn't say anything. We looked, but we knew better. Come to find out, my mother was a number runner for the community. 14 brothers right there on Sutter Avenue. Now it's coming together. Why all these thugs and the gangsters, tomahawks, unknown writers, why everybody saying, hey, Miss Ann, hey, Miss Ann? I'm like, how she know them? I like the dudes in the gang, you know what I'm saying? But how my mother know them and I don't know them?
In these projects here, everybody had their own crew. It was from block to block to block. If you knew someone and everybody was cool with that person, and you get the key, you can come through.
We lost a lot of good ones, it was like a war. You're gonna lose some, and some gonna come back home. The game was my livelihood, you had to be bad to make some type of good.
The gangsters in Brownsville, Queens, Manhattan, and Bronx knew better not to come to Brooklyn, because you may not come out. You talking about Big Rod, Baby Sam, Amar. You talking about Minute, Fat Sam. You come on Sutter Avenue, you done. But it was a struggle growing up in Brooklyn for my mother to be white and my father was black. So I had to build this persona because I didn't have no aunts, no uncles, no cousins, no nothing. So I had to take to the streets with my family.
Hey, boss. Okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
You sure?
I said I'm fine.
Since I was little, it was only like me and my parents.
You think you created family out of characters?
Yeah, of course.
I'm gonna take that
make it into a song.
Put me to bed, see you in the morning. With the frosted Superman, but it wasn't on it. And we lost it. In my head, in my head, in my head. Where you at on the way out? In my head, in my head, in my head.
Hey, son.
Hey, Pop.
You can talk to me.
It's been really, really hard for me.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Hey, we're so back. Sparky D is in the building. What did you guys think about that? You can tell me later when you see me on the street. But Sparky D, talk to me. What was that like watching the docu?
Wow. Took me way, way back. You know, my mother's deceased, but just getting up, you know, seeing a lot of people in your living room, just 8 o'clock in the morning. You're young. You see the dope dealer, the number runner, you know, the prostitute, all there. Why are there people in my house drinking coffee and eating donuts? Come to find out my mother was a number runner. You know what I mean? And it was just amazing to see my daughter, you know, play the reenactment of me.
That's her daughter.
Amazing. That's my daughter.
She did that.
Wow.
You know, and you know that lip, she said, that's Jamaican in me, you know.
You got some Jamaican in you?
My father's Jamaican, mother white, father black, yes. To see Spider D, not even that, to hear MC Light say what she said. Touching. I mean, and many of them that was willing to speak on my behalf in the documentary. It's just amazing. And again, you know, it goes back to Tony Wesely Wave for being obedient, listening to God. I said, okay, we want you. So again, my hat goes off to you for having us.
I love you
And my hat
guys.
goes off to Tony Wesely
I would
Wave.
always
I
have
just
you.
gotta
I
keep
love
it
you
real.
guys.
To add to what Sparky was saying, for example, I think it's important for me to respect the architect. So when we shot Light said to me, I'll do anything for Spark.
Wow.
I didn't have Light's number. I called Doug. I said, Doug, Doug gave it to me. That's what we felt family.
Yeah.
Doug's my brother.
Wow.
And got the number. I called Light. Light said, yeah, I'll do it for Spark. And then I was so busy. My calendar was running. Her calendar was running. She said, no, you could do me via Zoom. They do it all the time. I said, not me.
Yeah.
Not me.
Yeah.
And we jumped on a plane. We rented out a theater.
Sure did.
We had the whole theater, because that's what she deserves.
That's right.
She doesn't deserve me. So this is integrity. And so when we shot her and she was telling me about Spark, it was so beautiful because it felt like we were in her living room. So it's and then Salt, the same thing. We shot Salt in her mini mansion.
Yes.
With all her many awards. And it was just pure. You know. So these people aren't lying to me.
Right.
You know, so when they give Sparky her accolades and talk about the word, God's word, and how they rely on it.
Most definitely.
You know, so the documentary is not based on all struggle in
That's
none
right.
of our lives. It's the true story of that individual. And that's what makes it so powerful. These people are not just saying, I'll do it. They're going, and when you sit in a chair with me, it's a hell of a half an hour. And they've been willing to give me the truth, the real truth.
Most definitely.
And he will pull it out of you.
Yeah.
And you know, even Cheryl, if I could interject for a second, Cheryl, which I mean,
Salt.
you know, Salt, she said, I've done millions of interviews, but no one has ever made me feel the way you feel, pull things out. Light have said it. They all have said it. Just amazing, you know, and this is just true, real song.
And to know Sparky is truly to love Sparky.
I love her
thank you,
already.
Shay.
It's
I'm
to-
just gonna
it's to love
salute her.
her.
Can we clap for her?
Yes, we
Can we
can.
do that again? I want to salute you. I'm gonna keep
Thank
saluting
you.
you because
Thank you.
you're so amazing.
Well, what we can't forget, when I was over at the West Coast, and I was doing DJ Battle Cat, who's right now in the studio with Snoop, and doing
Yes.
some big things. He said because hip hop is not just the Bronx.
Yes.
And we've been allowing people to feel like it came everywhere else in the late '90s, almost kind of thing, when actually NWA, the World Class Wrecking Crew, those are early '80s with us. So I decided to go shoot over there. And so Alonzo Williams, who actually owned Eve After Dark, brought Curtis over there and brought that kind of attention to LA. But also it's two different types of rhythm, two different types of beats. Hip hop was the 808 bottom, the strong, the powerful, sound, and LA was more the Prince, the
Bootsy Collins
they
and
have
all
a
of
better ear for music, and that's why it came out so different. They said we've never come over to them, and not only we didn't give them the respect of being pioneers, because there's no date of a pioneer, is there? Not that I know of, but I was the first producer to come over and say, hey, I want to hear your story. Tell me about it in detail. So I was able to do Alonzo Williams' story, the reason for Dr. Dre, the reason for DJ Yella, the reason for Clientele and the World Class Wrecking Crew.
JJ Fad.
I do JJ Fad on their story.
Wow.
JJ Fad is an amazing story. And anytime someone hands me, let me tell you the gift for a producer. She had 8 VCR tapes. And one of those tapes blew me away when I see Dr. Dre and Ice Cube with a cup of beer in their hand at a house party. Footage is very important, but they trust us.
Most definitely.
You kind of see where I'm going.
To get the VHS mode, to give you their VHS.
Converted, yes. So, but to get the real story of not just NWA, but the walk.
Eazy-E's funeral.
Eazy-E's son, we shot in his house, and to get
He's
that
a big
story.
reality,
He's a big
person
reality
right now.
star, and he's asked me to do his documentary.
Wow.
That's
nice.
awesome.
Yeah, he's a real down to earth kid.
You said he was so sweet, right?
Not, well, I didn't say sweet.
I mean,
I didn't say sweet.
I consider sweet.
No, I said humble.
He said humble
Those
and
two
nice, and I thought sweet because I'm like that. Oh, I think that's so
Hey,
sweet.
for the record cameras,
I
where's my
don't start
camera?
no trouble. He said, I'm sorry.
I said he was humble.
He's humble
Okay.
and nice and very nice. So you look at people on reality TV and you be like, oh, they're a little rough. But to me, from what he said, he was sweet.
But he's a gangster.
He's still a gangster.
I mean, that whole
He could be a
West Coast
sweet gangster.
vibe, whole West Coast vibe. But let me tell you something. To your point, Sparky, to Kay's point, when I was shooting JJ Fad in concert, and Cube and everybody was on stage, and Bones and everyone, the Candyman, it didn't matter who stepped on that stage. It was bananas.
Wow.
The respect for each other is different.
See, come on, now you're talking.
The respect for each other is
My
different.
God.
Yes.
And so when they tell me, Wave, we've chosen you, that tells me
doing something amazing.
I'm loving it. I want to do this because, we had a little rapping going on in the first one. Tony won't give me the wave. I'll try to wave myself, Tony. I'll do it myself.
you're doing it. It's just your version.
All right, whatever. Tony's about to teach me something. But I just want to do this. Special K is still in the building. Can I give them that little secret about how... Special K, Salt and Pepper probably don't even know this. But you are the one that made that possible. You sent that demo over to someone to be heard, and they probably don't even know
Wasn't
it.
that Select?
Yeah.
Huh?
Select,
Wait, say that
right?
again?
Come here.
You took it? I don't care how you walk it. Walk into the light.
Amazing.
Walk into the light. Walk into the, go around.
What it is that at the time, I was interested in them as Supernature.
Okay.
I heard them and I was like, I like them, and I would hear them and I said, I'm gonna try to help them. And
Phenomenal.
I had sort of a connection with Jive Records. So Herbie had gotten a picture sometime. I can't really pinpoint how that happened around that time. But I was helping him. And he had Remember Herbie had that 808 drum?
Yes.
Herbie used to come to your house.
808, yes.
To the house.
Mm-hmm. Used to come to my house.
Some people know history.
See,
So
now
I took
y'all
it- I
know.
took it down the jive, and I spoke to them back and forth. They turned them down. But I had Next Plateau. I was dealing with them through Oscar, OC from Fearless 4. So I moved down. I took it down there.
Was my first single and Next Plateau. He had Tony. He had practice with Sparky D. Don't Make Me Laugh. That's when he signed Salt and Pepper.
Right. So then,
See, look at that. You see, I remember exactly what.
Look at all this wonderful
ahead, Kat.
history.
so then after
Yes.
that,
Awesome.
Documentaries about.
they got the
Yes.
deal, and he needed a DJ.
Wow.
And the original Spinderella
Yes.
it's like family to us. We, like what he said,
Come to the house.
everybody knew everybody.
Wow. Tony was
So-
like,
And
you just
she
make
was-
phone calls for this thing. That's it.
She was dealing with Tila Rock and, Tila Rock.
Next thing,
Yes, I
next
love
thing.
That is so amazing.
But that's just what we're saying. These documentaries will help you understand our walk, not individually, as a culture.
Most
Helping
definitely.
each
It's
other.
so important, but you can't write this. I write this in my head as I speak. I write the documentaries. Then we do the one page, the jacket, to tell ultimately the story, but it morphs. Because every interview will allow it to morph. If you cannot retain the conversations or the footage that you shot, it's hard to do this because you got to keep going back to your interviews. I don't.
Okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna close out with the video. So we're gonna go back so we can see that the Yalla clip that we Yalla, sorry. You can't
I'm
erase
sorry,
me.
Yalla.
I'm sorry. We've been talking for 2 hours. This is the second taping. So we don't wanna we wanna let that go out because we're about to close out the show. I want to thank you for everyone. I'm gonna salute you again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming to Crossover TV and bringing the tri-state, the entire world, your story. We will be live all over the world with this broadcast, www.bronxnet.org. Click on channel 68, every broadcast. So we're going to go to the footage. You want to say something?
Just one more thing. In film, there's what you call versions. And no one's version is wrong. It's just their version. So when people get upset about what's being said,
Right.
if it's not an outright lie, it's their version. In this room, that gentleman over there has a different version tonight than I do. So you take it for what it's worth and you take out of it for what it's worth, what makes you feel good.
I love it.
That's powerful.
Thank you. You want to close out with one word?
Hip Hop Film Festival, August 11th through the 20th, New York City and global.
And to add to that, at the Hip Hop Film Festival this year, you will get, if you're there in the building, you will see in its entirety Ness's documentary, Ellie and Ness documentary. You will see Khalid, the Hip Hop 101 Museums documentary with Griffin and Muhammad Ali's wife's in it. A lot of great, powerful people are in it. It's about education. And the premiere, I'm going to keep silent for now until we get closer.
Thank you guys.
Awesome.
Thank you, Shocky Shay.
Thank you for having me.
I love you. I love you.
Love
I
you as well.
We got a lot to do.
Yes, we do.
MC Sparky D.
Let's get to work.
Special K. Iconic. This is my pioneer show, 50 years of hip hop. We're going to close out with the video, You Can't Erase Me. You cannot say it, everybody. You can't erase me. Crossover TV. I love you.
In the 1970s, the Bronx was burning. But out of that ash and rubble came a brand new subculture and music genre.
What is a master? Somebody who controls, somebody who has the ability. You can be so ahead that people got to catch up.
Without those main 3, 4, 5 groups that were out at the time, there is no hip hop.
Definition of battle is war. You know, I approach it as a war, as a soldier. The Zulu King's motto, one of our mottos is, we battle for meat. If we don't win, we don't eat.
Yella came in, my hitman for Flyers. I remember a couple times we had to put hands on people and let them know we wasn't no punks. And that established the Wrecking Crew.
I remember one year, Lonzo Ball, Curtis Blow, and his brother Davey D.
My first trip from New York to California.
He was doing the scratch it and warming up, gave me a hands-on.
Putting pennies on your needles.
Yella was doing before Dre did.
People would think that I was the first female battle rapper, but that wasn't the case. Sparky had to do it twice as hard.
You wanted to battle me? I was there. I was ready.
I did like to party and smoke. I like to do things.
Can we get one vote?
The problem with addiction is that you may not have the same addiction that someone else does.
Beat Street came to us from LA. Graffiti Rock came to us from Special K.
Why haven't we been invited to bring the Black History 101 Mobile Museum to an historical black college or university?
I became nothing, even for Def Jam. You look at any interview, you don't hear one mention of K. Rick is behind me, and I pull him in and I say, Russell, this is Rick Rubin, my partner I told you about, and left him there. Shouldn't have.
Yella's just a good man. He's just a good human being. The fact that he chose to stay with Eric is probably indicative of that bit of his personality.
I mean, here it is, my buddy for the past 10 years, and I was in it with him to the end. You know, that was hard enough. But I just stepped in his shoes. And I remember at the funeral, giving, you know, the kids, they was, you know, little with the shovels.
Is the one who gave me my shovel to put dirt on my father and help me bury my father.
I haven't thought about this in 25 years. And it was just such a thing. This is like a spectacle. That day I said, I'm not doing music no more.
Anybody don't see Special K as a top 5 MC, you must have failed your history.
You can't erase me.
Ever hear the one about the frog? Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out.
Here's my resume.
But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, and that frog will boil. It's alive. But as a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans,
real-world experience.
it's a story that rings true. We make excuses for how we feel. We push everything down. We tell ourselves the lie that it's easier to stay in that boiling water, to disconnect. And some days, maybe, it is. But you've never been interested in easy. Reaching out is hard. Do it anyway. You're not alone. You've got this. You are not a frog.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Lord, give me strength to face another day, to make it the long life's road, carry my heavy load. Give me strength, oh Jah, to carry on, oh my Lord. Blessed love. This is Luciano Jah Messenger, and you're in tune to the Crossover Show and the Crossover TV with Empress Kendra.